Ravi was 17 years old. He lived in Sector 9, the poorest part of the colony called New Terra. In this place, people worked hard every day just to survive. The buildings were old, the air was dusty, and the streets were full of broken machines, but Ravi didn't complain. He lived in a small metal hut with his sick mother. Every morning, he would wake up early, clean their home, give his mother medicine, and walk to school. Ravi didn't have nice clothes. His school uniform had holes, and his shoes were torn. But he still went to class every day because he loved learning. He especially liked machines, computers, and old robots. He dreamed of building something great one day, something that could change his life and help others like him. But school was not easy for Ravi. There were rich students in his class who lived in the upper part of New Terra. That area floated in the sky and had clean air, shiny buildings, and flying cars. The rich students had everything: new gadgets, expensive clothes, and powerful family names. 3 boys in particular always made fun of Ravi. Their names were Neil, Brian, and Cole. They came from rich families and loved to bully poor students. Like Ravi, every day they laughed at him. "Look at his shoes," Neil said once, pointing. "They look like trash." "Maybe he found them in the junkyard," Brian added. "Don't come too close," Cole joked. "He might smell like oil and rust." Ravi stayed quiet. He didn't fight back. He knew he couldn't win a fight with them. But inside he felt pain. He wanted to shout, to scream, but he didn't. Instead, he looked at them calmly and walked away. After school, Ravi didn't go home right away. He had a small job fixing broken machines for local shops. He earned just enough money to buy food and medicine for his mother. When he had free time, he went to the junkyard near the edge of the city. The place was full of old machines, metal pieces, and forgotten tech. Most people thought it was just garbage. But to Ravi, it was treasure. He walked between the piles of junk, searching carefully. He had sharp eyes. He knew what to look for: wires, circuits, chips, and small engines. He had a backpack filled with tools, and he worked quietly under the fading light of the sky. One evening, as the orange sun slowly set behind the steel mountains, Ravi found something strange. It was a small metal box hidden under some broken parts. It looked like an old drone, but different. It had a smooth silver body and a small energy core inside. When Ravi touched it, the core gave off a soft blue light. "What is this?" he whispered. He cleaned the dust off and saw strange symbols on the side. It was not a regular drone. It looked like something secret, something from the military, or maybe a forgotten science project. Excited, Ravi put it in his bag and rushed home. That night, after feeding his mother and checking her temperature, Ravi sat in his little workshop. It was just a corner of the hut, but it had tools, wires, and parts he had collected for years. He placed the strange drone on the table and started working. He opened the panel slowly, careful not to damage anything. Inside he saw something amazing: an AI core, a real artificial brain, the kind that was used only in special government machines. "This is not normal," he said softly. This could be important." He connected it to a small power cell and waited. At first, nothing happened. Then the blue light blinked again. The screen on the core lit up. Words appeared: booting system, a link starting. Ravi's heart beat fast. He had done it. The machine was waking up. "I'll call you next," he said with a smile. Over the next few days, Ravi worked on Nex every night. He cleaned it, fixed broken wires, and taught it basic words and tasks. Nex was learning fast. It responded to Ravi's voice, asked questions, and even joked sometimes. It wasn't just a machine. It felt like a friend. At school, things were the same. Neil and his gang kept laughing at him. "Still playing with trash, Ravi?" Neil said one morning. "Maybe you should clean the toilets too." "Or beg for new clothes," Brian added, laughing. Ravi didn't answer. He had something they didn't have: hope. He had Nex, and he knew, deep inside, that something big was coming. He just had to be patient. One afternoon after school, he found a message scratched into his locker. "Scrap boy can't win." He smiled and walked away. Because in his pocket, he had a chip that could power 1,000 ideas, and behind his calm eyes, a fire had started burning. A fire that no bully could put out. Ravi worked quietly every night. His little workshop inside the metal hut was small, but full of life. Wires hung from the ceiling. Tools were scattered across the table. But in the middle of it all was something special. Nex, the I-core he had found in the junkyard. Nex was learning fast. It could now speak clearly and understand Ravi's voice. Sometimes it asked questions. Other times, it helped Ravi solve machine problems. It was more than just smart, it felt alive. "Why do you live here, Ravi?" Nex asked one night. "Because it's all we have," Ravi replied while soldering a circuit board. "But it won't be forever. I want to build something. Something that can change everything." Nex blinked its soft blue light. "Then we will build together." Those words gave Ravi strength. For the first time in his life, he didn't feel alone. He had a partner, someone who believed in him. Over the next few weeks, Ravi began building a new kind of drone, faster, lighter, and smarter than anything used in the poor zones. He used parts from the junkyard, his old collection, and small tools borrowed from a local mechanic. Nex helped design it, run tests, and adjust the balance systems. By the end of the third week, the drone was ready. It hovered perfectly in the air, moved smoothly through tight spaces, and responded to voice commands. It even had a small defense shield that Nex had programmed using a hidden feature from its core. Ravi smiled as he watched it fly around their hut. "We did it, Nex." "We are just getting started," Nex replied. Ravi planned to present it at the new Terra Youth Science Expo, a big event held once a year. Students from across the colony came to show their inventions. Rich schools usually won, but Ravi didn't care about prizes. He wanted to show the world what someone from Sector 9 could build, but not everyone was happy. At school, Neil, Brian, and Cole noticed that Ravi was different. He walked with quiet confidence. He looked tired but focused. One day, they followed him after class. They saw him enter a small repair shop where he was picking up a battery cell. The owner greeted him like an old friend. Later, they found out Ravi had signed up for the Science Expo. "Did you hear?" Brian said. "Scrap Boy thinks he can win the science show." Neil laughed loudly. "He probably glued a toaster to a fan." They decided to find out more. 2 days later, they sneaked into Sector 9. Wearing dark jackets and masks, they waited until Ravi left for the repair shop. Then they broke into his hut. It wasn't hard. The lock was old. Inside, they saw the workshop and the shining silver drone. "Is this it?" Cole asked. "Looks like it." "Let's give him a little surprise," Neil said. They opened the drone's panel and cut the main power wire. Then they scratched the lens, pulled out 2 chips, and poured a bottle of water on the table. They left quietly, laughing. When Ravi returned, he froze at the door. His workshop was a mess. The drone lay on its side. Tools were scattered. Wires were wet. His heart sank. No. He ran to Nex. The AI was safe. It had been locked in a separate box, but the drone was damaged badly. He sat on the floor, holding his head. "I can't fix this in time." Nex's voice came from the side. "Yes, you can. We still have 3 days. But look at this. It's broken. Then we build again." "You are not alone." Ravi wiped his eyes. He stood up, took a deep breath, and got to work. For the next 3 days, he didn't sleep. He didn't eat much. He worked day and night, rebuilding the drone from scratch. Nex stayed active, running calculations, helping with designs, And keeping Ravi focused. By the morning of the expo, the drone was ready again. It looked even better than before. Ravi wore his old uniform, washed and ironed. He packed the drone carefully in a metal case and took the long train ride to the upper city. It was the first time he had been there. The buildings were tall, the roads clean, and the people wore shiny clothes. But Ravi walked straight to the expo center, holding his case with pride. Inside, the hall was huge. Students from top schools showed off robots, solar tech, and flying cars. People looked at Ravi and whispered. Some laughed at his clothes. But he didn't care. He reached his booth and set up the drone. Nex had been loaded into a hidden chip inside the drone, ready to help. Soon, the judges came. They stopped in front of Ravi's table. "What do you have here?" one of them asked. Ravi smiled. "A self-learning flying drone with voice control, defense shield, and smart navigation." The judge raised an eyebrow. "Built by you?" "Yes, sir. I made it in Sector 9 using recycled parts." "Show us." Ravi pressed a button. The drone lifted off smoothly. It moved in perfect patterns, avoided obstacles, and responded to commands. People began to gather. Students stared in surprise. Even the other judges leaned in, impressed. Suddenly, a loud voice came from the crowd. He stole that design. It was Neil. Brian and Cole stood behind him. "He broke into our lab and copied our drone," Neil shouted. "He's a liar." The crowd turned. The judges looked confused. Ravi stood tall. "That's not true," Neil pushed forward. "Check. His drone. It has parts from our school lab." But Nex had prepared. The drone projected a video onto the screen, a secret recording from the night of the break-in. It showed Neil, Brian, and Cole entering Ravi's hut, damaging his drone, and laughing. Gasps filled the hall. The judges looked angry. "You lied," one judge said to Neil, "and you destroyed another student's work." Security came and escorted the bullies out. Ravi stood quietly. His drone landed gently. The crowd clapped. Some people cheered. That day, Ravi didn't just show a machine. He showed courage, skill, and truth, and the world had just started to notice him. After the Science Expo, everything changed for Ravi. The video of his drone flying, and the proof of the rich boy's lies, had gone viral. People across New Terra watched the clip on their screens. The story of a poor boy from Sector 9, who had built a smart drone from scrap and stood up to bullies, inspired millions. Ravi returned home to Sector 9 with a quiet smile. His mother hugged him tightly when she saw the crowd outside their hut. People from the neighborhood cheered for him. Children waved paper drones in the air. Even old shopkeepers smiled and called him a hero. But Ravi stayed humble. He knew the journey had only just begun. The next day, a message blinked on his old tablet. It was from a woman named Professor Mira, a former top engineer who now lived in the old hills outside the colony. She had once worked on secret AI projects and recognized the design of Nex from the expo footage. "Your drone's AI. It's not normal. That core you found, where did you get it?" she wrote. Ravi replied honestly. He told her about the junkyard and how he had rebuilt Nex piece by piece. After reading his messages, she sent another. "Come meet me. I think I can help you." Ravi didn't waste time. He packed Nex into a bag and rode a rusty bike through winding roads to the old hills. There, in a small home filled with books, blueprints, and machines, he met Professor Mira. She had silver hair, sharp eyes, and hands that moved like they still remembered every tool. She looked at Nex with great care. "This isn't just a helper AI," she said. "It was part of an old military research project. But the project was shut down before it finished. You've done what a full team of engineers could not." Ravi didn't fully understand. "Is it dangerous?" "No," she said, smiling. "It's special. And so are you." Professor Mira offered him a deal. She would give him access to her tools and knowledge if he agreed to keep learning and building responsibly. Ravi agreed without hesitation. For the first time, he had a mentor. Meanwhile, in the upper levels of New Terra, things were going badly for the bullies. Neil, Brian, and Cole were suspended from school for destroying Ravi's drone. Their parents, all rich business owners, were angry and embarrassed. The boys tried to blame each other, but no one believed their lies anymore. Even their classmates turned away from them. But the biggest problem was not just embarrassment, it was fear. Ravi's invention had opened people's eyes. If someone from the poor sector could build a flying drone with advanced AI, what else could people like him create? The rich families had always controlled the best tech, the cleanest energy, and the highest education. Now that wall had a crack. 1 week later, Ravi's story was picked up by a big news channel. A reporter came to Sector 9 to interview him. "How did you learn to build machines?" she asked. "I watched, I read, and I kept trying," Ravi said. "You don't need money to learn. You just need time and a reason." The interview spread fast. Offers started coming in. Small companies wanted to invest in his ideas. A clean energy group offered to sponsor him. Even a space tech agency sent him an invitation to visit. But Ravi didn't accept anything too quickly. He spoke to Professor Mira first. "You have something rare," she told him. "Be careful. Some people will want to use your work for the wrong reasons." Ravi nodded. He remembered the faces of Neil and his gang. Not everyone smiles with good intentions. So he stayed focused. He began working on a new idea: helper bots for poor areas. Small, cheap robots that could clean streets, carry loads, and teach children simple skills. These bots would be powered by recycled energy and built from scrap parts, so anyone could afford them. Next helped design the bots. Professor Mira gave tips to improve the structure. And soon, Ravi had built the first model, a small round robot with arms, wheels, and a friendly voice. He called it Lumo. Lumo could talk, clean, play simple games, and even teach basic reading and math. Ravi took it to a local school in Sector 9. The children loved it. They laughed, followed it around, and asked questions. Even the tired teachers smiled. Soon, every street in Sector 9 wanted a Lumo. Ravi started building more in his workshop. He trained 2 of his friends to help. People gave him parts instead of money. One old man even gave him a bigger hut to work in. Ravi's little project had become a movement. But good news travels fast, and so does jealousy. One day, while testing Lumo in the street, Ravi saw a group of strangers watching him. They wore suits and carried sleek devices. One stepped forward. "I'm from Novacorp, a leading tech company in New Terra," the man said. "We're impressed with your work. We'd like to buy your designs." Ravi raised an eyebrow. "Why?" "Your bots could help us expand into new markets," the man replied. "You'll be rich. We'll pay you more than you've ever dreamed." Ravi didn't answer right away. Something about the man's smile felt wrong. "I'll think about it," he said. That night, Ravi spoke with Professor Mira and Nex. "You should be careful," Mira said. "Novacorp doesn't help people. They control them." "They want to stop your bots from spreading," Nex added. "If they buy your design, they can hide it, keep the poor dependent." Ravi understood. He had a choice to make. And he made it. The next day, he sent a message to Novacorp. "No, I'm keeping the design free for everyone." Novacorp didn't reply, but strange things started happening. Some of the Lumo bots began to malfunction. Lights in Ravi's workshop blinked strangely. His tablet was hacked. Online, people started spreading lies saying his I was unsafe, or that his bots were stolen ideas. It was clear. Novacorp was trying to destroy his name. Ravi didn't panic. He stayed calm. With Nex and Mira's help, he began protecting his systems. He repaired the bots and updated their code. And then he started working on something new, a system that would be too big to stop. Because if the powerful wanted to silence him, He would speak louder, and this time, the whole world would listen. Ravi no longer felt like a forgotten boy from Sector 9. His name was now known across New Terra. People from poor zones sent him messages of thanks. Children looked up to him. Even old workers who had lost hope smiled when they heard his name, but Ravi never acted proud. He still lived in the same small hut. He still fixed machines for neighbors who couldn't afford repairs. What changed was his mission. He now wanted to do more, not just build machines, but change the system. With the help of Nex and Professor Mira, he started working on something big. Something that would help all sectors, not just Sector 9. Information, power, and tools. Mira told him, if people have these three things, they can rise. So Ravi began designing a connected system. It would link all helper bots, street machines, and energy devices in poor areas into one strong network. This network would share information, fix itself, and stay active even without big companies. He called it SkyGrid. SkyGrid would give free power, free learning tools, and job skill data to every home that connected to it. It was like giving people a map and a boat when they had only been given mud before. But to build SkyGrid, Ravi needed resources and support. He couldn't do it all alone. He reached out to the people. He made a short video. In the video, he explained the idea in simple words. They told us we don't belong. They said we can't build, can't lead, and can't dream. But we've proved them wrong. Now it's time to build together. SkyGrid is not mine, it's ours. He uploaded the video, and within hours, it was shared by thousands. People from other sectors sent tools, small energy cells, and even food to help his team. Young programmers from poor schools offered to code. Old builders offered to make drone frames. Within 2 weeks, the first SkyGrid node was ready. It was a small tower made from scrap metal, solar panels, and wireless units. When Ravi powered it up, it sent a soft blue wave into the sky. Next confirmed. The link, connection active, SkyGrid is alive. More nodes followed. One in Sector 8, one in Sector 10, then one in Sector 3. Ravi's team used flying drones to carry parts. They moved quietly, avoiding attention from Novacorp, which still tried to block him. Novacorp, the big company that once tried to buy Ravi's bots, now saw him as a threat. They held secret meetings in glass towers, trying to plan ways to stop him. One of their leaders, Director Voss, spoke with a cold voice. He's untrained, unlicensed, and unprotected. He's building illegal tech. We must shut him down before his network grows. Novacorp sent cyber attacks to crash the SkyGrid system, but Nex defended it with smart shields and code traps. When the company sent men to threaten Ravi, the people of Sector 9 stood guard outside his hut. No one touched him, but the pressure grew stronger. One morning, police officers arrived at Professor Myra's home. They arrested her for illegal tech use and supporting rebel activities. Ravi watched in shock as she was taken away in a black van. He felt helpless, but only for a moment. Mira gave us a gift. Ravi told Nex, we'll finish what she started. They can't stop all of us. Ravi and his team doubled their work. In just 5 more days, they built and launched 10 more SkyGrid nodes. Each one covered a large area. People in the poor sectors could now access data, free power, and learning systems. Children began using smart tablets in schools. Adults found guides for building water filters and farming tools. Some even started small businesses using the shared power. Meanwhile, the media could no longer ignore Ravi. Reporters came to Sector 9 again. One of them, a kind woman named Alina, asked him a simple question. Ravi, do you realize what you've done? I'm just fixing what's broken, he replied. She smiled. You're becoming a legend. Ravi looked around at his team. Tired hands, oily clothes, but hopeful eyes. These were the real heroes. But trouble wasn't far. Novacorp made its final move. They sent a private strike team to destroy Ravi's main lab. It was late at night. The sky was cloudy and the streets were quiet. The men arrived in black suits, carrying EMP guns and explosives. But Ravi had prepared. Next spotted them through the drone cams. Warning, incoming threat. 10 units. Fast approach. Ravi pressed a button. The lab's defense mode activated. Drones flew out from the walls. Shock lights turned on. Alarms rang through the streets that the people of Sector 9 came running. They didn't carry weapons, but they carried cameras. They recorded everything. When the strike team saw the crowd and realized they were being filmed live, they stopped. One man threw down his weapon and walked away. The rest followed. By morning, the video had gone across all networks. It showed the truth. A big company trying to crush a small team. It showed how the poor protected their hero. Novacorp tried to deny everything. But it was too late. The colony leaders called for a full investigation. Professor Mira was released. Novacorp lost contracts. And most importantly, Ravi's name became a symbol of hope. A famous journalist said on a live show, "The people in the clouds thought they could block the sun. But Ravi showed us that even the ground can shine." Now SkyGrid was growing faster than ever. Ravi didn't rest. He worked day and night, not for money, but for the dream. His dream was simple. No child should be told they are too poor to learn. No family should live in the dark because they can't pay for power. No genius should be ignored because of their address. And slowly, that dream was becoming real. Ravi's invention, SkyGrid, was changing lives. Across New Terra, people from poor zones were using free energy, smart bots, and learning devices. Streetlights were turning on again. Children were learning with joy. Small workshops were opening. The world was beginning to change, not because of the rich, but because of a boy from Sector 9. But not everyone was happy. In the upper sky towers of the city, the powerful leaders of Novacorp held an emergency meeting. Their business was falling. People no longer needed to pay high prices for power, software, or repair bots. Ravi's technology was hurting their profits. Director Voss, an old man with sharp eyes and a cold voice, stood in front of the others. We offered him money. He said no. We tried fear. He resisted. We must now remove him. Quietly, one younger member of the group asked, "But how? The people love him. If we harm him, they will rise." Voss nodded slowly. "We will not touch him directly. We will break his image." The plan began that same day. Online, fake news started spreading. Articles said Ravi was using stolen military tech. Some claimed his bots were spying on families. Others said SkyGrid was full of viruses that would crash the colony systems. At first, Ravi ignored it. But when people started asking questions and teachers became afraid to use the bots, he knew he had to speak up. In a public message, Ravi stood in front of his main lab and spoke clearly. "Everything I've built was made with my hands, my team, and my heart. If you have doubts, come and see for yourself. My doors are open." The video helped many people trust him again. But not all. The next attack was worse. One morning, Ravi arrived at his lab and found that half of the SkyGrid nodes had gone offline. The system was crashing. Bots stopped working. Power in some poor areas was lost. Next reported the problem. Multiple nodes infected. Code rewritten. Signal jammed from orbit. It's a powerful cyber attic. Ravi's team worked day and night to fix the problem. People from all sectors sent messages of support, but the pressure was heavy. Some news channels said, "Maybe this boy isn't ready for real responsibility." Ravi sat alone in his lab that night. His hands were covered in oil, and his eyes were tired. Nex hovered nearby. "You can still walk away," Nex said. "You've done more than anyone expected." Ravi shook his head. "I didn't come this far to stop. If they attack, I'll build stronger. If they lie, I'll speak louder. But I won't give up. The next morning, Ravi released SkyShield, a new update for SkyGrid. It had built-in protection against cyberattacks, stronger AI security, and a self-repair system. Nex helped write most of the code. Within 24 hours, the system recovered. The lights turned back on, the bots rebooted, and the people cheered. But then came the worst news. A legal notice arrived. Novacorp had filed a case against Ravi in the High Court of New Terra. They claimed he had stolen private technology, broken security laws, and built an illegal AI. If proven guilty, Ravi could lose everything: his lab, his bots, his network, even his freedom. Professor Mira met him after hearing the news. "They're scared," she said. "And scared people use courts when they can't win with tricks. What do I do now?" Ravi asked. "You fight back." Not with anger, with truth. The trial was set for next week. Until then, Ravi's projects were put on hold. He couldn't add new nodes. He couldn't send out updates. People were worried. What if they lost SkyGrid forever? But Ravi didn't stop working. He began preparing something special, a gift to the people, something that no company or court could ever take away. He called it the Core Seed. It was a small device, simple and easy to build. It could connect to solar panels, power tools, and run local learning programs. Once activated, it became a mini SkyGrid, independent, free, and offline safe. He made the full design open to the public. He shared the blueprints, the code, the build steps, everything. Anyone with a 3D printer, tools, or even basic parts could make it. "This belongs to the people," Ravi said in a final message before the trial. "Even if I'm gone, the dream will continue." The message went viral again. Across New Terra, thousands began building core seeds. Schools, homes, farms, and even spaceports started using them. Ravi's dream had spread beyond him. The day of the court came. Ravi stood alone at the front. On the other side, Novacorp had 5 lawyers. The room was cold. The judges sat high above. The main lawyer from Novacorp began with loud words. "This boy is dangerous. He uses stolen AI, puts untrained bots in public, and risks our colony's systems." Ravi waited. Then he stepped forward. "I am not trained in their schools," he said, "but I have trained my mind. I have trained my hands. I have never hidden my work. I invited all of you to see it. The people saw it. They felt it. They know the truth." One judge asked, "Did you use stolen tech?" Ravi replied, "I found an old AI core in a junkyard. It was dead. I brought it back to life, not with stolen code, but with learning, love, and help from my friends. If that is a crime, then I accept the blame." There was silence in the court. Then, something amazing happened. One of the judges took out a core seed from his pocket. "My son built this last night using your design. It works perfectly." The room was stunned. The case was dismissed. Novacorp was warned not to file false cases again. Outside the court, thousands of people were waiting. When they heard the result, they cheered louder than ever before. Some carried signs that said, "Ravi equals real change. SkyGrid belongs to us. The future is human." Ravi walked through the crowd, not as a victim, not as a hero, but as a symbol of hope. Novacorp had tried to crush a boy, but instead, they helped create a legend. Ravi had won the court case. People all across New Terra celebrated. The boy from Sector 9 had stood against one of the biggest companies in the colony and walked out free. But this was not the end of the journey. It was only the beginning of something bigger. With the court case behind him, Ravi returned to his lab. But this time, something felt different. When he walked through the streets of Sector 9, people didn't just cheer, they looked at him with respect and trust. Children smiled when they saw him. Old men nodded as if they had waited their whole lives to see someone like him rise. Inside his lab, his team was already working. They were fixing bots, printing core seeds, and updating SkyGrid. The system was growing fast again. The cyber attacks had stopped, and more people were joining the movement. Ravi sat with Nex and Professor Mira to plan the next step. "We've helped thousands," Ravi said. "But what about the millions who still live in the shadows?" Mira smiled. "Then we must reach the places the towers don't." Nex blinked its soft light. "We need to take SkyGrid to space." Ravi paused. "To space?" "Yes," Nex replied. "If we launch SkyGrid into orbit, the system will be safe forever. No one will be able to shut it down from the ground." Ravi stood up. His heart was racing. A space-based SkyGrid, a permanent net over the whole colony. That would change everything. But there was a problem. They needed a launch vehicle, a space shuttle or drone, that could carry the satellite system into orbit. They didn't have one. Then, one evening, a message arrived from a group of independent pilots and engineers called the Free Flyers. They were old space workers who had been pushed out of jobs by Novacorp. They had been watching Ravi's journey and wanted to help. "We have an old launch ship. It still works. But we need your tech to guide it." Ravi and his team traveled to the edge of the colony, where the Free Flyers had built a hidden launch base in an abandoned canyon. There, Ravi saw the ship. It was large, gray, and covered in dust, but still strong. Ravi touched the side and smiled. "We're going to give you a new purpose." The team got to work. Nex uploaded the SkyGrid core into a satellite module. Ravi and Mira helped rebuild the ship's systems. Young coders wrote clean launch protocols. Mechanics repaired broken engines. The work went on for 2 weeks, non-stop. Finally, the ship was ready. On launch day, thousands of people watched through screens across the planet. For the first time in many years, a launch was not controlled by the rich. It was built by the people, for the people. Ravi stood on the platform, his hand on the control switch. He looked at Nex. "Are we ready?" Nex replied. "SkyGrid satellite is active. Launch guidance is green. Let's light up the sky." Ravi pushed the button. The engines roared. The ground shook. The ship rose into the sky, flames behind it, climbing higher and higher until it vanished into the clouds. The entire world held its breath. Then, after 10 long minutes, a signal came through. "SkyGrid satellite has reached orbit." Signal locked. System online. The crowd watching erupted in cheers. From that moment on, the SkyGrid satellite floated high above New Terra. It sent down light, data, power, and hope. It couldn't be turned off, blocked, or controlled by anyone. It was beyond the reach of the powerful, and it belonged to everyone. Ravi had done it. He had created something that no one could take away. That night, celebrations spread across the sectors. Fires were lit in joy. Drones flew in the sky, drawing pictures of stars and satellites. Ravi didn't attend a big party. He sat on the rooftop of his hut, watching the stars with Nex beside him. "You've become something more than a builder," Nex said. Ravi nodded. "But I'm still me. A boy who started with broken tools and a dream." Professor Mira joined them later, carrying warm tea. "You've made history," she said. "They'll talk about this day for 100 years. But there were still those who didn't cheer. In the highest tower of New Terra, Director Voss stood in front of a large screen. His face was pale. The SkyGrid signal was now stronger than ever. He had lost. "Shut it down," he said softly. A worker shook his head. "Sir, we can't. It's in orbit, fully self-powered." "Untouchable." Voss sat down. He knew the game had changed. The poor had risen not with weapons, but with knowledge, unity, and creation. In the days that followed, more bots were built, more core seeds were made. Children began dreaming of becoming builders, not just workers. Girls and boys from poor families joined learning hubs powered by SkyGrid. Ravi's story was now part of school lessons. A documentary titled "The Boy Who Lit the Sky" was released and watched by millions. It showed Ravi's journey from the junkyard to the stars. It ended with his simple message: never let your value be measured by your money. Measure it by your mind and your heart. Now Ravi was not just known as the boy who built SkyGrid. He was called a legend, but he still fixed old machines, still walked the streets of Sector 9, still helped neighbors carry heavy things. Because Ravi knew something the rich had never understood. The strongest people are the ones who never forget where they came from. After the success of the SkyGrid satellite, Ravi's life changed forever. He had become a legend across New Terra, not just because of his inventions, but because of his heart. People saw him as proof that anyone, no matter where they come from, could rise and change the world. Even so, Ravi stayed true to himself. He still woke up early to care for his mother. He still walked through the dusty streets of Sector 9, greeting friends and helping those in need. The fame and money didn't change his simple nature. One morning, Ravi received a message from the colony's largest investment group. They wanted to meet him. The leaders of Novacorp had been replaced, and many companies now wanted to support SkyGrid. They offered funding, resources, and new technology to expand the project. Ravi agreed to meet, but he had clear conditions. "I will accept help," he told the investors, "only if the technology remains free for everyone. No one should pay for something that belongs to all." The investors were surprised but agreed. They saw that Ravi was not just a boy, they were looking at the future of the colony. With this new support, Ravi's team grew. They built new labs, hired engineers, and expanded SkyGrid to cover more planets in the system. His ideas became part of a larger movement for equality, knowledge, and progress. Ravi became a millionaire many times over, not because he wanted to be rich, but because the system valued his inventions and leadership. Yet he never forgot the people who helped him. He started programs to teach children from poor sectors how to build machines, write code, and dream big. He gave scholarships. He built clean water systems and powered schools. Every success was shared with the community. The bullies who once laughed at him were long forgotten by most, but sometimes Ravi remembered their faces. He didn't hate them. Instead, he hoped that one day they would see that strength comes from kindness and hard work, not from power or money. One evening, as Ravi stood on the rooftop of his new home overlooking the glowing city, he thought about the journey he remembered. The broken shoes, the harsh words, and the lonely nights in the junkyard. He remembered the moment he found Nex, the eye that changed everything. And he smiled, because now, he was not just a boy who was bullied for being poor. He was a legend, a leader, a millionaire, but most importantly, a human who believed in the power of dreams.